This is tape number ET58 from the library of the Howard Thurman Educational Trust. Two meditations by Howard Thurman. This is side one, entitled The Light in One's Path.
Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, my strength and my Redeemer. I laugh when I hear that the fish in the water is thirsty. Perceivest thou not how the God is in thine own house, that thou wanderest from forest to forest so listlessly? In thy home is the truth. Go where thou wilt, to Benares or to Mathura. If thy soul is a stranger to thee, the whole world is unhomely. These are the words of the ancient Hindu mystic Kabir. They lift into focus an experience so common to all men that it belongs to all men. Our days are surrounded by the persistent tendency to seek meaning and significance for our private lives in those places or situations in which others seem to be finding meaning and significance. Deep and convulsive is the sigh of the human race as it longs for what is out of reach, as it quivers with yearning for the thing that belongs to another's peace. The lesson is hard to learn that the point of initial contact for all meaning is close at hand. The reason for this is not far to seek. A man is the private custodian of the values which are precious to him. He must keep the tryst with those things by which he lives and by which his life is sustained. If at this crucial point he defaults, then he is in no position to assess values anywhere else. This is not to say that all the values that are available to him he possesses at any given time, but it is to say that he must make his private, personal peace in terms of loyalty to what to him is true. Sometimes we seek to escape the responsibility for what we recognize as being valuable to and for us. Such responsibility involves a quality of personal commitment out of which all moral character takes its rise. It is much, much easier to cast a longing eye otherwhere than to come to grips with what is already established within ourselves as the truthful and the significant. To seek escape from this is to try to run away from ourselves. This no man can do, even though he may try to do so all the days of his life. I laugh when I hear that the fish in the water is thirsty. In thy home is the truth. If thy soul is a stranger to thee, the whole world is unhomely. At the railway station in Washington, D.C., on the outside, in one of the large plaques against the upper wall, there is a quotation which reads something like this: "He who seeks the wealth of the Indies must carry the wealth of the Indies with him. This commonplace garden variety notion that the thing that a man seeks, roaming up and down the land, trying to lay hold upon, the clue to that is not in the regions of his search, but the clue to that is within himself. There's an old story that appeared for the first time, I think, in America, in a book written by an Indian whose name I believe was Mujerki. It is called My Brother's Face. And in this book, there is the story of the musk deer. And it says that in the springtime, the musk deer is haunted by the odor of musk. It drives him to madness almost. He runs over hills and valleys, jumping streams and rivulets, exploring every new path that turns up, seeking always to find this thing that is haunting him, this thing that is in his blood. And then finally, with his nostrils dilating and his heart pounding, he falls in exhaustion, with his little head resting on his still more tiny paw, to discover that the odor of musk is in his own skin. The idea that the clue to the outside world, the clue to all the meaning that I am trying to find is within myself. This causes man to recognize in the most striking way sometimes that if he acts in ways that are destructive to his inner life, that tends to cause his inward parts to disintegrate, then the outside meaning of life, the interpretation that a man gives to the outer world begins to disintegrate. It begins to collapse. It is this notion that we are the custodian of our inward parts, and that it is from within ourselves that we get the clue for all the meaning that we can ever find. In my office at the university, I have a painting which a friend gave me many years ago, and it is of a lonely figure on a rather dark landscape, and the heavens, the skies are full of light, but at the foot, moving right out from the foot of the solitary figure, there is a very bright shaft of light. And the artist is saying that it doesn't matter how much light there is in your sky and all around you. The only light that you really see is the light that falls on your own path. Therefore, if I act in ways that make it difficult for me to keep alive within myself a sense of meaning, then I can't find meaning anywhere. It is this discovery that is brought out in one of Shakespeare's dramas in Macbeth. You remember Macbeth was sure that he was going to be a great man. The witches had said so, and he told his wife so, and together he and his wife swam across Scotland in seas of blood, tying laurels on their brows with other people's lives and other people's heartstrings, until at last Macbeth was the first man of the land, and Lady Macbeth was the first lady. Their friends were liquidated, their enemies multiplied, and then Lady Macbeth became diseased as to her mind, always trying to wash blood from her hands that was not on her hands but was in her spirit. And then one day she died, and the attendant came to Macbeth to tell him that his wife was dead. And Macbeth said, "She should have died hereafter. There would have been a time for such a word. Tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow creeps in the petty pace from day to day down to the last syllable of recorded time, and all our yesterdays have lighted fools their way to dusty death. Out, out, brief candle. Life is but a walking shadow, a poor player that struts and frets his hour upon the stage, and then is heard no more. It is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing." Now, why was life a tale told by a fool, having no meaning to Macbeth? Because he had overlooked this very simple insight, which is the burden of our thought, that each man is the custodian of a world of values and meaning, which he must hold intact. For this is the clue to all the meaning and all the values which he will discover in the outer world. What a man seeks in the outside world is what he is finding already within. I laugh when you say that a fish in the water is thirsty. Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, my rock and my redeemer.
This is tape number ET58 from the library of the Howard Thurman Educational Trust. This is side 2, entitled The Light in One's Path, Part 2.
Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, my strength and my redeemer. I'm reading from Meditations of the Heart. The problem of the religious man's attitude toward the world is persistent and perennial. one reaches a conclusion about it only to discover that it becomes unresolved again. Perhaps the most direct attempt toward a solution is to seek withdrawal from the world. The world is too much with us, is the common feeling. When one seeks withdrawal from the world, it is admission that the world is fundamentally and completely other than that which is congenial to the things of the spirit. Or the individual who seeks withdrawal is convinced that for his highest spiritual growth, he must not be involved in the entanglements which are the common lot. If it is the former, the inescapable conclusion is that the contradictions of experience are in themselves final and binding. There is ever a recognition of the necessity of temporary withdrawal from the world and its insistences. This is a part of the very rhythm of life. We live by alternations. The religious man is no exception. He withdraws from the world and then he attacks the world. He retreats and he advances. Or the religious man may summarize all that the world means in terms of negations into one single manifestation. He may decide, for instance, that all evil is reduced to a single entity. It may be alcohol or tobacco or war or greed. If such is his conclusion, then it follows that all energies must be bent toward a single end. Such a solution to the problems of the world is perhaps a radical oversimplification. It says that from within the confines of a particular manifestation of the world, the total solution to the problem of life must be sought and may be found. Obviously, such a solution is inadequate. Both religion and life are too complex, and personality is indeed. Or the religious man may recognize that all the world is made up of raw materials which stand in immediate candidacy for the realization of the kingdom, the rule of God. This is a very far-reaching insight with profound radical implications. The idea is inherent in the suggestion to Peter in the Acts of the Apostles that nothing that God made should be regarded as unclean. If God is the creator of life in its totality, then all things are in candidacy for the achievement of the high and holy end. This is not to say that evil has no meaning, but it is to say that once the evilness of evil is removed, resolved, uprooted, then the total character is thoroughly altered. The religious man who takes this position is never afraid of life, nor does he shrink from the vicissitudes of life. He seeks at every point the emergence of the will and the mind of God from within himself and from within the stuff of life itself. What is revealed in life is one with that which transcends life. It is a very commonplace judgment to say or to assume that all evil can be summarized in one single, direct, comprehensive category. A perfect illustration of what I have in mind is found in Herman Melville's Moby Dick, you may remember. Ahab set out to conquer the white whale who in a previous encounter had bitten off his leg. He organizes a motley crew and they go forth to sea. As far as Ahab is concerned, the white whale is not merely the embodiment of all evil, but it is the essence of all evil. And if he could conquer the white whale, then all evil everywhere would be conquered. He goes out, he has his encounter, and one of the striking scenes from the book, he is standing on the deck of his ship with his wooden leg rooted in the floor of the deck. There's a storm at sea. The vessel is rising and falling with the wind. and the waves. Ahab's brow is disheveled, his eyes are bloodshot, and he says something like this: let the winds blow till they destroy the vessel, until they dry up the bowels of the sea. I can still affirm my bitterness and my hatred of the white whale. Now, in your life or in my life, there is often one thing which seems to us to be the embodiment of all that is evil. And if we can conquer it, then it means that everything else falls into place. This is an oversimplification of one's experience, and I think it is not based upon any realistic understanding either of the nature of life or the nature of personality. Sometimes just the reverse is true. A man decides that one kind of goodness is the goodness. It may be, he says to himself, that I know that I am a good man, and because I go to church, or because I pay my debts, or because I keep my word, or because I pray 3 times a day, or I fast, whatever it may be. And if all the world did as I am doing, then the world would be a good world. Now this is a delusion, for it says, you see, that all goodness can be summarized in a single act, when we know that this is not true. For instance, in your life or in my life, if we try to select one expression of our lives which seem to us to embody everything that we mean by what we are, to embody all of our intents in one creative synthesis, as soon as we settle upon what this thing is, we are sure that there are aspects of our lives that cannot quite be included in this one judgment. So that it seems then that life is far more complex than any general rule, any specific illustration of life. Therefore, in the living of our lives, it is wise to take into account that as long as we live, we ourselves are learning how to live, and that the deeper is our experience, the more comprehensive is the view, the wider is the spectrum of our experience, the more inclusive must be whatever our judgments are relative to that which is good and that which is evil. So that when we say that to withdraw from the world and find a place of retreat where there is no tension, where there is nothing that pulls us away from our goal, what we forget is that when we are in the place of retreat, we bring to it all of the things that are with us when we are not in retreat. As it is said in Milton's Paradise Lost, Satan suggests that the mind is its own place, and in itself can make a hell of heaven or a heaven of hell. That the mind, the spirit, is in itself so involved, so complex, so much a part of the complexities of the stuff of life, that no single notion, no single view, no single clue is sufficient. But here and there, as we live, we do discover important clues, which, if we follow to the end, will bring us into a larger area of meaning and comprehension. I believe profoundly that any ray of light, however small and meager, if it is followed with all of one's passionate endeavor,
will bring one to the source of all light. For it doesn't matter how much light there may be in your sky, the only light that you ever really see is the light that falls across your path. And if you're true to that, then it will lead you into the source of all light. Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, my rock and my redeemer.
This program was pre-recorded.